Public hearings. Notices have been published, posted, and mailed. The first one is hold a public hearing, waive the second reading, and adopt 2010 fire and building code ordinances to be adopted by reference with amendments. Staff report, please.
Thank you and good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council.
And you are?
Aaron Ackney, the Community Development Director.
Thank you.
Every 3 years, the state of California adopts a new set of building codes, and these building codes must be implemented as adopted by every city. However, the cities are able to adopt amendments because of unique conditions within their city. On January 11, 2011, the City Council waived the first reading and introduced the attached ordinances for adoption, which are basically adopting all the state codes by reference, plus a number of local amendments. Since that time, the public hearing notice has been published in a manner consistent with state guidelines. What's unique about adopting codes by reference is that you actually hold the public hearing during the second reading rather than the first reading, and there's a unique way that you have to post all the notices within the paper, and we followed all those guidelines, and we have not received any comments to this date. At that January meeting, the City Council also adopted a resolution to have the findings of need for these local amendments and set the public hearing date for today. I won't go over all the code amendments. We've already covered those in 2 previous council meetings. They're all within the written report. However, a few important ones are the council remembers that we adopted the Tier 1 measures of the Green Building Code. The Green Building Code is a first-of-a-kind type building code that's requiring sustainable measures be implemented within buildings within San Bruno. We adopted the Tier 1 measures, which are basically the middle ground. There's the mandatory measures, which were the lowest sustainability level, and the Tier 2. We adopted the Tier 1. Another important one is the wildland urban interface amendment, and what this does is allows the building official, fire marshal, to have certain materials required when you're near a eucalyptus grove or near some highly combustible area. Finally, one that's related to code enforcement as well, is it prohibiting the storage of combustible materials in multifamily carports and garages. And we've had that issue sometimes up at Shelter Creek and other areas within the city, so it's good to see that amendment within here. If approved, these amendments will be submitted to the Building Standards Commission, and the ordinance will go into effect 30 days from now. I could take any questions if you have any.
Any questions of our director?
Through the chair.
Rico?
Very quick, on your staff report under discussion, it states none of these amendments would result in a significant increase to the cost of the construction for the San Bruno property owner. Can you define for me what significant means in your world?
Sure. Basically, there will be comparable costs. So even without these amendments, the price of construction will be about the same as it would be with these amendments. Most of these amendments are just codifying existing construction practices. For instance, putting reinforcement within foundations. Everyone does that around here because it's an earthquake area. So it won't add costs. It'll be comparable costs.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Through the chair.
Michael?
I was wondering, I noticed that there are sections in each part of this that we're amending that seem to be repetitive.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if for just conciseness, if those could be put in one section and then referenced so that every time we redo these or review them, that we can just point back to one section. The section on CEQA seems to be consistent across all of them. A couple other sections as well. I'm wondering if legally, do we have to include that in every part of this, or could it be moved to one section and then just referenced?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, but I know that there's a standard format you have to follow for each type of ordinance, and there does have to be some repetition. I mean, what I wish they did in the end is consolidate the 10,000 pages of building codes into one easy-to-use book, because that's a problem in itself, that you have 11, 12 building codes with 1,000 pages in each of them, you know, and you have to learn all of those and inspect per all of those codes. But yeah, we could take a look to see how during the next cycle we could clean up the ordinances so it's more streamlined.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the director? All right, at this time we'll open the public hearing. Would anyone in the public like to speak on this issue? If we close the public hearing, you're precluded from speaking on this issue again. Action.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any additional questions or action on this particular item? Need a motion to waive the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to waive the second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
And we need a motion to adopt the fire and building code.
I'll move for adoption of the code.
I'll second.
Motion second to adopt the code. All in favor?
Aye.